We're going to talk about some free agent options for the Minnesota Vikings to consider this offseason. But first, Brian Flores. I thought this would be a one and done deal, that he'll be the DC in 23, and then obviously he will perform himself into a head coaching gig elsewhere. But with no head coaching interviews lined up for Brian Flores, it appears that Flores, for a second straight year, will be the Vikings defensive coordinator. And the Vikings fan in me is saying, oh, sweet, hell yeah, let's run this bad boy back. Because he took what was in 22, led by Ed Donatel, the league's second worst defense, to in 23, a top half defense with a subpar roster. Oh my God, this is going to get him some better players and watch this defense continue to grow and shine. So the Vikings fan in me is saying, hell yeah, let's go. But as a human being, I can't help but feel bad for Brian Flores. I think it's an absolute travesty because it's all in your job. No matter what profession that you have, you should have the opportunities to grow and advance in your career based on your performance. And this is the NFL. They've given second and third chances to awful people that have done awful things. I can't count how many players that applies to. In some cases, dare I say, a borderline menace to society. And they'll sign them and will release a statement and say, we believe that this player will turn his life around and we're going to be right there to support him the entire way through. And then have a press conference and all this other crap. Why? Because he can play. You ignore all the other stuff, but he's a really good player, so we'll deal with it. But where they draw the line is if you are presenting yourself as an opposition to the NFL's operations on a business level, well, then that's where, hey, you're blackballed from here on out. Head coaching gig? Yeah, you performed well. You did a damn good job. Guess what? You're capped. The ongoing lawsuit that Brian Flores has with the NFL. Maybe this is just me being naive, because I'm just saying he was interviewing for the head coaching job with Arizona. Even with that lawsuit, he performs. That's all that should matter. J.C. Tretter, you remember him? 2 years ago, we were clamoring. Sign this dude, one of the best centers in the league. Oh, but he's the president of the NFL's Player Association. You're the head of the union. We can't allow that. Really? That's where you draw the line? I think it's a shame. It's basically a real life example of, I would say, one of the biggest scams in corporate America, human resources, because they're presented as a mediator. You can present facts and say, I don't know if I'm being treated well compared to my coworkers, and here's the data, here's the evidence I have to back it up. Well, really, they're not mediators. HR, and no disrespect, if you work in HR, go and get your money. But HR, while they say that, okay, we're going to be the mediator and listen to both sides, they only work for management. So if you ever complain for HR, complain to HR, don't be surprised if a week later you get written up. That's just how it works. But Brian Flores, for free agents for the Vikings to consider, you got to give Brian Flores some help on defense. Upgrade that side of the football. Right now, and I'm talking specifically defensive line. You build up the trenches, and then you can build up the rest of the defense from the inside out. Over the cap right now has the Vikings at about $25 million available. However, if you make a few changes, such as a Brian O'Neill restructure, a Justin Jefferson extension using the Nick Bosa template, cut Harrison Smith, cut Dean Lowry, cut Jaron Hall because you're going to draft a quarterback and you love Nick Mullins, and assuming that you bring Kirk Cousins back, those moves alone, you go from $25 million to around $56 million available. So the Vikings still have some room to work with. On the defensive line, 3 players that I want to bring up. And actually, before I get to that, I think it's important that with that money, Danielle Hunter has to be the focal point. You have to sign him ASAP. You need to bring back Danielle Hunter, and I would say you need to add 2 interior defensive linemen. But after Danielle Hunter, looking at interior defensive line, Christian Wilkins is a name that comes up quite often, and I get it. He's going to be a free agent. Spotrac has a market value for him at just over $20 million a year. Chris Jones, that's a pipe dream. He's going to break the bank. They're projecting him at about $28.5 million per year. I don't think that's something that's realistic for the Vikings. So right now we're looking at just Christian Wilkins. And I understand that's going to be the popular thing to do. However, I would say, because Harrison Phillips, I think, was playing out of position. He should not be a nose tackle whatsoever. Move him to a 3-4 defensive end. I think trying to draft a nose tackle and take on the powerful centers in the league at the next level is going to be a little bit too much for that young man. These are some grown-ass men, and you need to be arguably the strongest interior defensive lineman on the team. You're not going to be at that level yet coming straight out of college. I think signing a nose tackle would be best. DJ Reader, who Spotrac has an estimated market value for him at $16 million per year. Now, he suffered a torn right quad in week 15 against the Vikings. He's maybe or maybe not a former Cincinnati Bengal, but he's a nose tackle. And at $16 million a year, that's a little more than $4 million cheaper than Christian Wilkins. That's $12 million less than Chris Jones. I think signing a nose tackle in free agency, DJ Reader being the best option, and drafting a 3-4 defensive end, Jazon Newton, for example, I think that would be best. And you can save the most money. So think about this. DJ Reader at nose, Harrison Phillips, Jazon Newton, 3-4 defensive ends, Danielle Hunter, you bring him back. Patrick Jones II, can't afford DJ Wonnum. So Patrick Jones II is your time to shine. We believe in you. That's a hell of a defensive line, bro. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Because, again, you need to save money. It's not the most cap space available in the league. You got to bring back Danielle Hunter. And if they, honestly, the way this is looking, both of these guys, because Hunter's going to want 20 to 25 million. Let's just split the difference and say 22.5 million per year. DJ Reader, 16 million a year. So those two players combined, 38.5 million. Honestly, I don't want this to happen because you have to think about trying to, and I'm assuming this is trying to take one last stab at the competitive part of the competitive rebuild, trying to bring back Kirk Cousins. But if you can't, I would not be shocked, bro, if they really entertain the idea of Russell Wilson. But that's a whole different topic for a different day. I've talked about it before the last couple of weeks. But I think that would be a legit defensive line from end to end. And then it doesn't matter, opposed to drafting the best cornerback at 11. Because realistically speaking, I don't know if the Vikings can really trade up for Jaden Daniels. So instead of going corner, Kool-Aid McKinstry at 11, go defensive tackle at 11, take your quarterback in the second round. I'm just spitballing here. But DJ Reader, I think that would be the best option in free agency. A close second to me is Christian Wilkins. Your thoughts in the comments section below.